1. So here we have 3 equals the square root of b minus 1. So you're going to need to get that b by itself, and we have to undo a square root. How do you undo a square root? Square it. So I'm going to square this, and I get 9 equals the square root and the square cancel. So I have b minus 1. Now I just add 1, and I get b equals 10. Okay, now put your pencils down for a second. I want to show you another problem. What if I had the square root of x plus 2 equaled negative 5? I would square this and square this. X plus 2 equals 25. And I would subtract 2 and subtract 2. And I get x equals 23. And that looks good, just like we ended up with an answer. But watch this. If I plug 10 back into the equation, I get the square root of 10 minus 1, which is the square root of 9. Does the square root of 9 equal 3? Yeah, it worked. Let's try plugging this in. 23 plus 2 is 25. Is the square root of 25 equal to negative 5? No. So this answer appeared to work, but it actually doesn't work. So this one would have no solution. And that happens sometimes with square root problems. If your variable is underneath a square root, there is a very good chance you're going to create an answer that appears correct, but when you plug it back in, it doesn't work. So on the instructions it says, remember to check for extraneous solutions. Extraneous solutions are ones that appear to work, but they don't actually work. And square root equations, that's one time when you create extraneous solutions. There's another one that you'll learn next year. So in all of your answers today, when you get your answer, you need to plug it back in to make sure that it works, because it doesn't necessarily work every time. So look at number 2. I'm going to square both sides. 4 equals x over 2. How do I get rid of the divide 2? Times by 2. And I get 8 equals x. So I plug that in. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Is the square root of 4 equal to 2? Yes. So this answer works. So it does have a solution. Okay? Look at number 7. 7's a little bit tricky. This time, instead of equaling a number, it equals a variable. When I square it, square and square, 8k equals k squared. If you have a k squared or an x squared or an m squared, that should tell you there are 2 solutions. There could be 2 solutions. So whenever you see a k squared, you need to set it up in the box and factor it. Well, at least try to. So if you see k squared, we need a 0 here. We're going to move everything on this side over to that side and factor. Because if there are 2 solutions, you need to factor to find out what they are. So I'm going to subtract 8k, and I get 0 equals k squared minus 8k. So, do these have any common terms? They both have a k. So I'm going to pull out a k, and I get k minus 8 equals 0. These are my 2 factors. So I set both factors equal to 0. So k minus 8 equals 0. So k would equal, add the 8 over, k equals 8. I set this equal to 0, k equals 0, and I'm done. Those are my 2 answers. Now I need to check to see if they work. So I go back to the original problem. Is the square root of 8 times 8 equal to 8? Yes. So that one works. Is the square root of 8 times 0 equal to 0? Yes. So both of those answers actually work. Okay? And this will be the hard type of problem whenever you have a quadratic. You need to remember how to factor. So we'll do some more together. Look at number 8. This one has square roots on both sides. I just square like I would before. 9 minus b equals 1 minus 9b. Do I need to set everything equal to 0 and factor in this case? No, I don't have a b squared. I just have two single b's. So instead, I'm going to move the numbers to one side and the b's to the other. So subtract 1, I get, that's an 8. Add the b, and I get negative 8b equals 8. How do I solve that? Divide by negative 8, and b would be negative 1. Now I plug in negative 1 to see if it works. So this would be the square root of 9. What is minus negative 1? It's plus 1, which would give me a 10. And I have the square root of 1. What's negative 9 times negative 1? 9. Do those equal each other? Yes, I get root 10 equals root 10. So that answer is not extraneous. It is a correct solution. All right, turn the page. Take a look at 11. What is the 1/2 power? Do you remember from last Tuesday? No. It's the square root. So the square root of 4 is exactly the same thing as 4 to the 1/2. So if I did 4 and I raised it to the 1/2, oops, 4 raised to the 1/2, I'll get it right, hang on. 4 raised to the 0.5 is 2. 9 raised to the 0.5 is 3. So don't let those 1/2s confuse you. They really just mean square root. So how do you get rid of a square root? Second power, so I'm going to square this and square this. These cancel, and I get 20 minus r equals r squared. What's my method to solve this? I need to get everything on one side and use the box or factor out a common term. So I'm going to add r. Can I add r squared and r together? No, they're not like terms. And subtract 20. Subtract 20. So I have 0 equals r squared plus r minus 20. Everybody okay so far? Now I need to put this into the box. R squared, negative 20. And then your next step is to multiply those two together. So I get negative 20 r squared. Are there factors of negative 20 that add to be 1? Can you be more specific? Negative 4 and positive 5. So negative 4r and 5r. You guys remember how to do that? So this side, these share an r. What times r is r squared? R. What times r is negative 4? What times r is 5r? So one of my factors is r minus 4 equals 0, and the other one is r minus 5 equals 0. So now I need to figure out the roots. What is the root for this first one? Positive 4. What is the root for the second one? Negative 5. Now I have two answers. I need to check and see, do they work? So I go back to the original equation. So the square root of 20 minus 4, does that equal 4? Twenty minus 4 would be 16. Is the square root of 16 4? Yes. So this answer works. Let's try the other one. Square root of 20, what is minus negative 5? It's plus 5. Does that equal negative 5? Is the square root of 20 plus 5 equal to negative 5? No. So this answer is extraneous. We just cross it off. R equals 4 is the only correct solution. Okay. Take a look at 16. This one's a little bit tricky. I'm going to square that side and square this side. If you do v squared plus 9 over here, I'm going to throw my marker at you. That is not the correct square of v minus 3. The only way to square two numbers that are unlike, they're not like terms, is you multiply them together like this. So the left side is going to be 2v minus 7, just like you would expect. But the right side, we need to multiply it out the long way. That would give me v squared minus 3v minus 3v plus 9. For the rest of this problem, do I want to separate the v's and the numbers, or do I want to get them all on the same side? On the same side, because this is a quadratic, we have a v squared. So I need to move these two over. So I will add 7 and subtract 2v. Add 7 and subtract 2v. The left side is 0. And the right side, how many v squareds are there in that whole big long equation? Just one. How many v's are there? Negative 3 minus 2 gives me a total of negative 8 minus 8v. How many numbers are there? 9 and 7 makes 16. Now I set up the box. V squared 16. Are there factors of 16 that add to be negative 8? Negative 4 and negative 4. So minus 4v, minus 4v. So v here, v, minus 4 and minus 4. So this is actually the same factor twice. We have v minus 4 and v minus 4. We only need it once. So if I set this equal to 0, what is my root? Positive 4. Now we have to go back and check, does positive 4 work? So I want to know, is 2 times 4 minus 7 equal to 4 minus 3? So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 7 is 1. Is the square root of 1 equal to 4 minus 3? Yes. So that solution does work. Okay? And then take a look at 17. 17's kind of tricky. Just like 19. You're going to have to do the same thing for 19. Here's what you don't want to do. I'm going to put that on my desk so you can pay attention. Yeah, that wasn't a good idea. Was she cute? You were wasting that on a guy? So, if I were to square this in its current form, the left side comes out nice. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. But multiplying this together is a horrible mess. Because I have to do this times that, well, this times itself, and then this times that, and this times that, and that times itself, which is a mess. So, to make this a lot nicer, and actually save yourself a ton of time, I want this to be alone when I square. So I want to move the n to the other side to begin with. And you're going to want to do the same thing on the next problem down, 19, I think. So I'm going to add n over here. N minus 3 equals the square root of 37 minus 3n. If you don't do that, you won't be able to solve it. It is possible, but it takes a ton of time, and it's a total waste. Now we square. So I'm going to square this side, and that just cancels, and I get 37 minus 3n. And when I square this side, I just multiply it by itself. When I times these together, what do I get? N squared for my first term, and then minus 3n again, plus 9. Don't forget those two middle terms. That's a really common mistake. So do I want to separate n's and numbers, or do I want to move everything to the n squared side? Well, if there's an n squared, you need to move everything over and set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 37. I'm going to add 3n. So n squared minus, well, I have negative 3n minus 37, which is negative negative 37 minus 3 is negative 40, minus 3 is negative 43. Oh, don't pay attention to me. I knew we hired you for a reason. So those cancel, and I just get minus 3n. Okay, how about 9 minus 37? Minus, is that going to work? Uh-oh. Did I? 28, yeah. But 26 won't work. 28 will. Now I create the box. N squared minus 28, which gives me negative 28 n squared. Are there factors of negative 28 that add to be negative 3? Well, will 1 and 28 work? No. 2 and 14. 2 and 14 will create a 3? No. 3 does not go into 28. 4 and 7. Yes. So it's plus 4n and minus 7n. So my factors would be n and n. This would be plus 4, and this would be minus 7. So I have n plus 4 equals 0, and minus 7 equals 0. So n equals what's the root for this factor? Negative 4. What's the root for this factor? 7. So now we need to test them to see if they work. So negative 3 equals the square root of 37 minus 3 times negative 4 minus negative 4 is plus 4. So 37 plus 12 is 49. Square root of 49 is 7. Is 7 plus 4 equal to negative 3? Not even close. So that one didn't work. So let's try 7. So 37 minus 3 times 7. And then it won't be plus 4. It'll be minus 7. So that's 21. 37 minus 21 is 16. The square root of 16 is 4. Is 4 minus 7 equal to negative 3? Yes. So this answer does work. So it only has one solution. 18 and 20 is something you don't need to know until next year. So cross off 18 and 20, but you do need to do 19. All right? Good luck.